Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this, our second Wellbeing webinar for Wellbeing in Construction. We were due to hold our Wellbeing in Construction Summit in June, but for obvious reasons, we're postponing that. But in light of what people are going through working from home, we wanted to deliver some wellbeing webinars for you to help working from home and the stresses of all the what's happening in the world at the moment. So this is our second one, and I'm delighted that Joanna May is joining us. Joanna has spoken at the Wellbeing in Construction Summit twice now, and also at UK Construction Week. She has a wealth of experience in the construction sector and has been working with people like Balfour Beatty and the Considerate Constructors Scheme and Morgan Sindall. So I'm delighted to welcome Joanna, and I'm going to hand over to her now. And hopefully at the end, please feel free to ask questions. There's a box for questions, and we'll go through those with Joanna at the end. So thank you, and over to you, Joanna.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. It's nice to see you all here. Well, I actually don't know who's here. I know there's 82 people, so that's fantastic, and a few more joining as well. So what I wanted to talk about was meditation. So I'm a meditation teacher. I haven't always been a meditation teacher, and I never came to meditation because of my mental health, basically. So I think those are three things that we can start with. But when Nathan was putting this together, he was basically looking at things that could help people who maybe weren't used to working at home, which is very much us as the construction industry, and what that meant for them. And I don't think it's just about working at home. I think that it's everything that surrounds it, because yes, in the construction industry, it's not something that we're used to. And I suppose it was always a novelty thing. It was something that was quite nice. You know, it was a bit of a treat that we never used to get. I certainly know that when I worked in the industry, working at home wasn't an option. You know, it was very much project based, or it was office based. But it's a case of, it's not that we're working at home because we have the option to, and it's a nice benefit for us to do. We're actually being told that this is the only option for us to do it. And I think that is what can affect people's mental health and well-being more than anything, because when you find that you're kind of put into a situation that is beyond your control, that is when you feel quite restricted, and you start to maybe feel a little bit more isolated because you feel like you have no power over the situation. But what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about meditation, and how I believe it's something not only to be using whilst working at home, but really something that you should be thinking about for your daily life regardless, and also why it's a fantastic time to start now. So let's just go through the first three things that I said at the beginning. So I am a meditation teacher. A lot of people might not know what meditation is, or they might have kind of misconceptions as to what it is. There are many types of meditations out there, and I would say meditation is almost like food. So different foods will do different things for your body and nourish your body in different ways, just as different types of meditation will do different things for your brain in different ways. Without a shadow of a doubt, the most common form of meditation known in the Western world is mindfulness meditation. So it's become very popular because you have things like apps such as Calm and Headspace and Insight Timer. Whenever you go into a yoga studio and they're offering meditation at the end of a class, more often than not, that is mindfulness meditation. So anything that is getting you to focus on something. So focus on your breath, focus on your body, focus on a sensation, or maybe a guided visualization, like pretend that you're on a beach and this is what you can see. All of these fall under the form of mindfulness meditation. I don't teach mindfulness meditation. I teach a very different type of meditation, and we'll get on to the benefits of the type of meditation that I teach and I practice a little bit later on in the webinar. I just wanted to, right out the gate, just clarify that there are different types of meditation out there, and they have different benefits. So the second thing, I wasn't always a meditation teacher. As Nathan said, I am from construction, actually. So the first role that I had in construction, I was on a building site for Keltbury, and I was counting muckaway tickets, weighing up rebar schedules, and this was over a decade and a half ago, you know, and things have changed a lot in the industry since the time that I first stepped foot onto a site. We wouldn't have been able to do this this would not have been an option to be able to do this webinar, and I'm really grateful for technology. And it's not that we didn't have internet when I first started out in the industry, it's just that on site there were two options. You could either have the internet or you could have the fax machine working, because it used the same phone line. And believe it or not, it was actually more important to have the fax machine plugged in at that moment in time, because we used that more to communicate than we did with the internet. And so, you know, fast forward to 2016, and I was at the Construct Awards ceremony, and the chairman of the board at the time, Steve Regan from Careys, he said the biggest killer of young men between the ages of 18 to 35 is suicide, and construction accounts for a large proportion of that. And we all know that now, you know, it's something that's so au fait, it's something that is just a statistic that we're aware of. And that really disturbed me, because I love the industry. I still love the industry. It's one of my favorite industries. I love the fact that you get to deliver projects and you get to be in a team. And it really made me stop and think and reassess about what my contribution to the industry could be. And after taking a bit of time to think about that and think about, was I happy with what was going on in the industry and how we were looking after our people? And I came to the conclusion that I could do something different, basically. So after that night, 2 weeks after that night, I handed in my notice, and that was it. I decided that I wanted to now focus on improving mental health in construction. And so that's how I kind of stepped away from my role as a commercial director and ended up working on improving mental health in construction. So those are those two things. I did not come to meditation because I had poor mental health, or I wanted to improve my mental health, or because I was concerned about it. I actually came to meditation because I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best version of myself, and I wanted to be a high performer. And when I did some research on what the top performers in the world did, I was surprised to find that they meditated. And there's a guy called Tim Ferriss, and he's a New York Times best-selling author. And in one of his books called Tools of Titans, where he interviews everyone from Oscar winners to Olympians to people who started up tech billionaire companies, 90% of them have a meditation practice. And so I thought, okay, this is what top performers do. I'm going to learn how to meditate. So I found a teacher who specifically worked with executives and CEOs of companies. I left the country and I learned how to meditate. And on the second day of the training, I said to her, why is it that this is such a great tool for performance, to be effective and to basically enhance the way that you can be? And she said, if you think of your brain like a computer, and every time that we launch into fight or flight, which is the stress response, it opens up a window. And then what we do is, more often than not, instead of closing down that window, we minimize it. And over the years, we do this over and over and over again. And by the time we're 20, we've got millions of these open windows open. And so if I just talk to you quickly about what the stress response is, I told you a little bit in the beginning that my working environment 10 years ago, 15 years ago on a building site is very different from what it would be now. Like, we used faxes instead of the internet. You know, you could still smoke in your cabin when I first started working in the industry. And our environment now has changed so much. And again, now it's going to change because we're going to be working at home. Again, a new environment that we have to adapt to. But the reality is our body hasn't changed that much. In 15 years, our bodies have not evolved in the same way that the environment has evolved. And just the same as when we were hunters and gatherers, our bodies were very, very similar to how they were to how they are today, but yet our environments are vastly different. So the stress response was something that was in us inherently to help us survive, basically. So if you came up against a predatory attack, it would give you the instinct to either fight or flee so that you could live another day. And what would happen would be the same for all of us. So I won't go into the full set of biological responses that our body would do, but some of them would be that you would have increased levels of cortisol and adrenaline, which are acidic in nature. And an increased level of cortisol, it affects your cognitive function, it affects your emotional control, it can result in high blood pressure. Another interesting thing is when you're in a constant state of low level stress, it can affect your immune system, because if your body thinks that any moment now you're going to be a tiger snack or you won't live to see another day, it's conserving all of your energy to deal with the task at hand. So therefore your immune system actually goes to the back burner. So people who are constantly stressed, they tend to be open to the common cold more often. And you know, I can definitely attest to this, because when I left uni and I had to start being an adult, every year I would get bronchitis at the same time. And I didn't realize until later on in life that was because I was in a constant state of low level stress. And so every year I would get bronchitis, and I just thought, that's just life. That's what happens. You know, I've just got an immune system that is like this. The first year that I started to meditate, I didn't get bronchitis. And I wasn't the person who noticed that. It was my friends who noticed it, because apparently we always go out for dinner for one of my friends' birthdays at this time of year. And they said, oh, isn't this lovely that we're all around a dinner table and you're not coughing up a lung, basically. And that's when I started to connect the dots, that I had started to do this thing that in essence helps me look after my immune system, because I was no longer in a low level of stressed out being, and that helped me basically get back to a function that was normal. So yes, the immune system, when you're in a stressed out state, it works not as efficiently. So that's obviously something that we are all very concerned with at this moment in time. And so that was why I kind of came to it. And with this, it came with a whole load of benefits that I hadn't even thought about. So let's talk about the meditation, the type of meditation that I do. I do meditation on a daily basis, twice a day, every day. And a lot of people, hopefully you'll have some questions to ask, but you know, you'll ask about the timings and when I do it and how long I do it for. And you know, a lot of people, when they first hear about meditation, they're like, twice a day, every day, that's crazy. But what I would actually say, if I was speaking to you live and I was able to see your faces, I always ask people, like, do you brush your teeth twice a day, every day? And everyone always says yes, because even if they don't want to admit that they don't brush their teeth every day, but we all do it. And then when I ask people, okay, so how many of you do something for your mental health every day? A lot fewer hands go up. And when I was speaking to Mace last year, I think it was November, one of the guys in the room, he said, well, you know, that's because we're taught from a young age that you need to brush your teeth because it's important. And I said, yes, absolutely. It's something that we have now been conditioned to do. But actually, from your behavior, what you're saying is, I brush my teeth twice a day, every day, because I believe it is important and I value my dental health. But you're not doing something for your mental health every day. So does that mean that you value your dental health over your mental health more? And it's just a question that I want you to kind of go away with and think about, because even if you don't choose to take up a meditation practice after this, hopefully it's something that you can start to frame and start to think about. And for me, my meditation is a form of mental hygiene, and it's something that I do every day. And the way that my meditation works is the technique that I use, it de-excites the nervous system. And so if you think about it, if you think about a pot of boiling water on the stove, what you're doing is you're physically exciting those water molecules. And so if you imagine that as your nervous system, and then if you put a grain of rice in there and you try to take it out while it's all excited, while it's bubbling over, it's really going to be hard to take that grain of rice out. And that grain of rice represents stress, basically stresses that you encounter on a daily basis and stresses that are from a historical nature. But what meditation does is it brings the boil down to a simmer, and it brings it down to settle and still. And so then you can reach in and take out that stress a lot easier. So when you do meditation, what you're doing is you're de-exciting the nervous system. And we're at a point now where it's not just anecdotal. It's not that, oh, I sit and I do my meditation, I feel so much better afterwards. There's science behind it. So practicing the type of meditation technique that I use and that I teach, what you'll find is within the first 30 seconds of you sitting down with the intention to meditate, your body will start to flood with serotonin and dopamine. These are bliss chemicals, which are alkaline in nature. And we know that cortisol is acidic in nature. So what you're doing is you're neutralizing and you're bringing the body back to balance. Within 10 minutes, this is measurable within your bone marrow. So it's not just something that is nice to do. And, you know, way back when people who were into yoga and ate lentils did, it's something that can be measured by science now. The type of meditation that I practice as well, it is a different state of consciousness. So different from waking, different from sleeping, different from dreaming, it is meditation. So if you were to put an fMRI reader on your brain whilst you're in this state of meditation, what you would see is the whole brain lights up. With mindfulness, the front of your brain would light up, so the prefrontal cortex would light up very brightly, but in this form of meditation, the whole brain lights up. And that's important because the left side of our brain is responsible for the critical thought, analytical thought. The right side of our brain is creativity and connectedness and intuition. And connectedness is something that is really important at this moment in time. To feel that you're connected to other things and basically the world at large is getting hard to feel that when we're constantly being told to self-isolate and to social distance. So with this form of meditation, you're building up that right side of the brain that helps you feel a little bit more connected to things. And so that is really why I meditate every day, twice a day. I'm sure you're kind of a little bit sick of seeing my face now. So what I'm going to do is, if technology helps me out, I'm going to try and share my main screen now. So bear with me a second while I sort my life out. Okay. So just asking yourself every day now that you're working from home, is your dental health more important than your mental health? And maybe just to take a moment every day to do something that is purely for your mental health, like conscientiously and actively doing something for your mental health. And so I always show this curve when I'm speaking, and it's basically what they call as the diffusion of innovation curve. And a really simple way to explain it is using, I know that some of you here might not like Apple, but I'm just going to use the example of the iPhone because it's an easy one. And it's something that Simon Sinek, a guy who is also an author, he uses often. So he talks about the innovators. They would be Apple. They came up with the iPhone and a smartphone basically that you could do more than just call on the phone. Then you would get the early adopters, who would be the people who wanted that first smartphone. They would stand in queue even though that they knew that they would be able to get easily the next week, but they wanted to be the first. They were the early adopters. The early majority of people who are probably, I would say, iPhone 4, 5, they've seen it works, all of their friends are starting to get it now, they want to be part of it. And then the late majority, you know, they're seeing that, okay, smartphones are a thing. Maybe I'm not going to invest in Apple, but I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to do a Samsung or another form of, you know, smartphone, but they go on and get a smartphone. And then you get the laggards. And those are the people who used to have the flip phones, but now they can't get them anymore because they basically don't exist. So they're forced into having smartphones. And so when I think about this, and I want to think about it in relation to mental health, it's a case of, where do you fall on this curve? I know where I am. Obviously, I'm in the 2.5% because I was the one who was speaking about meditation when people in the industry were saying, you're crazy. No one's going to go for that at all in the industry. The early adopters, I would say, they are the people who I've been working with over the past year and a bit, 2 years, and they're the ones who have already got meditation practices, you know, whether they've self-funded or whether their companies have paid for them to learn how to be meditators. And one of the things that I ended up doing on Sunday night after I was recovering from the events of last week that just were beyond words really, was I made sure that I emailed every single one of the people that I've taught how to meditate. And these are the people who I believe are the early adopters and who have the tools now to help bolster them through this time of uncertainty. And some of you who are on this call, you are my meditators, so you're going to recognize your own words. They're the early adopters, and when I asked them how they were doing, these are some of the comments they were coming back with. We have been meditating every day to keep us sane. It's definitely a crazy time. Oh, I can't see these because, one second. It's definitely a crazy time, but I'm glad for the habits I have that I feel now are equipping me well to deal with the situation, including my daily meditations. I agree 100% that meditation is key right now. I already did one this morning. I'm hoping it will help us through this stormy period. Meditation is definitely needed now more than ever. So I'm really grateful for the fact that I've been able to give people in the industry tools with which they can actually call upon and use in this challenging time. And if you bear in mind that 70% of my clients are from the construction industry and they are predominantly male. I do have many female meditators. However, predominantly the people that I've taught have all been male. And so I'm just going to ask you now, as we kind of come to Q&A, what's your next move, really? Because you've got all of this information, you know a little bit about meditation. I hope it's got you to think about looking after your mental health on a daily basis, whatever that means to you. I would love you all to want to come and learn how to be meditators, and I would willingly and gladly teach you all how to be meditators. But the thing that I found has helped me with meditation is when you meditate, you get more of what we call adaptation energy. And that is the ability to adapt to the new now. And that was something that I realized had really helped me when I was thinking about what it was that I was going to do next. And for me, it was about how can I best serve the industry, basically. And first of all, the way that I need to do it is I need to look after myself. And that's what you guys have to do as well. You need to take time every day, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just take some time for yourself. And that time for yourself is not watching Netflix, and it is not social media. It's something else where you can engage in something where you are engaged in it. So whether it is going out and having a walk on your allocated one outing per day out of the flat or the house, or whether it is taking 10 minutes to read a book, and that to be your way of dedicating some time to yourself, but really think about something that you can do every day to benefit your mental health. That might be waking up in the morning and just thinking about one thing that you're grateful for, because the neuroscience shows that even if you can't think of something that you are grateful for, just purely asking the question shifts you into a more positive mindset. And when you're able to do that, you're able to look after other people. So for me, my meditation practice is more important to me now than ever, because I want to help the industry. And part of me being able to help the industry is by, yes, teaching more people how to meditate, but also it's by looking at the people in the industry who are already equipped to help the people who will need the help. And for me, that is supporting people like the Lighthouse Club, you know, because they are doing fantastic things and people are going to be calling on them and using their helplines a lot more. So it is a case of I will be doing everything that I can and helping raise awareness that they are around and that they have services and that they can help. But it's not just about pointing people towards their direction and giving them resources. It's how can I actually physically help them from a financial point of view as well. And so it's not just that. I'm looking at ways that I can help people on the front line and people in the NHS, and what can I develop so far as trainings in order to help people who have been made redundant, because I'm in a place now where I've got a lot of adaptation energy. So I'm able to adapt to this situation that we found ourselves in, and I'm able to look beyond myself and what it is that I have as my needs. And I'm able to look at everything that I've got and be grateful for that, and be grateful that to this point I've been able to help lots of people and give them a tool with which they can look after their mental health every day. And so now it's a case of how can I help others and help people who are on this call, maybe even, you know. And key to me being able to do that is taking the time every day to do my meditations and to take some time out and make sure that I am looking after myself before I can go off and help other people. And so from here, you've got my contact details. If you aim your smartphone at the screen, it should connect you straight to my website. So this is great. You've all tuned in here and I'm so grateful for it. And hopefully there will be a few questions for you all to ask. And I'm going to hand over to Nathan to kind of moderate those questions. But I would say it's more than information. It's time for action now, guys. And you really do need to take time to look after your mental health on a daily basis.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Joanna. And yeah, we've got some questions that have come through. So first question I wanted to ask, we've got, are there any free resources online that can give us some ideas on meditation practices?
Absolutely. So if you get in contact, so you've seen my contact details, Nathan and everyone else will send that out as well. Hopefully, so you'll have my contact details. What I've done and what I do for every time I do a workshop is I have a guided experience that is recorded. I can send that out to you and you can try it, you know, and see. It's like, I think it's like 7 minutes long, and it's something that you can do, listen to it and see how you feel after it.
Okay, cool. Another question here is, I've got, how can employers support their employees at work? Are there any good examples of how they can support so that they can carry out some meditation in their workplace?
Yeah, amazing. I was really gutted last week and a little bit this week because 70% of my clients are construction. None of them had got in contact with me about what they could do during this time. And I understand why, because we're all in panic mode and crisis mode. But all of my other clients from finance and tech and media had all said to me, put together a wellbeing package. We want to deliver this to our people. I actually got a call and I spoke to Wilmot Dixon, two different parts of Wilmot Dixon, one from up north, well, Midlands, sorry, and one from down south as well. And what they're doing is they're putting together little things like these, little webinars. They're getting people to do a couple of presentations. In particular with meditation, they're getting me to come on and they're looking at times that they can do it and really looking around how people are working. So people might not be used to working at home. And so they're actually looking at me doing a meditation session or a guided session really early doors in the morning before they kind of get into work, and maybe a little bit later in the evening. So reaching out to people like myself and other people out there who are able to guide you through this, and just know that, you know, we're actually equipped to do this. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Go and ask for advice from people who are already delivering this stuff.
Okay, brilliant. And I've got a question about long-term benefits. Are you able to sort of cite some long-term benefits of practicing meditation twice a day?
Yeah, amazing. Like, I'm actually 75, so it's anti-aging. I'm not, and I'd be devastated if any of you actually thought that I was. But it has actually been shown, without getting too sciencey, there was a Nobel Prize a couple of years ago done on DNA and telomeres, and what they found is actually when people who meditate, you're changing the structure. You actually, it's reversing the aging process or slowing down the aging process. So that's great. Mental acuity, that is something that is a long-term benefit. People who meditate in the form that I teach, it also, it gives you better quality of sleep. So a sleep pattern is usually anything from 90 to 120 minutes at a time. And they found that people with a regular meditation practice, they move through the shallow state a lot quicker and move into the deeper state and stay there for a lot longer. And I think we'll all agree that if we are more rested, we are more functional as human beings, because there is a lot associated so far as health issues with lack of sleep. So those are just a couple of the benefits of meditation. And also, you're a nice person.
I think, yeah. I mean, personally, I've noticed, been working from home, not quite a week yet, but even the quality of sleep, I'm getting plenty of sleep, but it's not quality sleep. So I can imagine that I probably need to do the meditation twice a day. Another question here. Oh, so thank you very much. This was very inspirational. I've already shared your information with a colleague. That's great. I've got another question here. How can you meditate on a noisy construction site? Is it possible?
I love it. So we are taught basically by just society that you need to sit down cross-legged with your back straight and clear your mind and stop thoughts. All of those are fallacies. That's a form of meditation. But if anyone ever tells you that you need to, you know, meditation is to stop your thoughts, then you need to tell them that they're wrong, because the mind thinks involuntarily like the heart beats involuntarily. If your intention when you sit down to meditate is to try and stop your thoughts, you've failed even before you've begun. Basically, that's what happens. And so I have meditated in the middle of Times Square, and people sometimes forget that I was working as a commercial director when I was a meditator. And I have meditated with people who are subcontractors, and we have done it on site. I actually, one of the meditation trainings that I did it for Galliford Try. We did it in their first aid room. The cleaner came in halfway through when we were meditating. It didn't affect us. We just carried on. So I have meditated on a construction site. You just need to be taught how to do it.
Yeah, at the moment, I guess, well, as we're seeing construction sites closing down, there's plenty of peace and quiet. But obviously, when the world resumes and noisy construction sites start back up again, then that'll be the test, and hopefully people can come back to you and tell you their stories about how they've done it successfully. But so thank you very much, Joanna May. I think I'm pretty sure I guess some great feedback, and perhaps if you've got time to do another one of these during the next few weeks, whilst people have got time, perhaps it would be another topic. Perhaps we could ask people to get in touch if they've got any other topics they'd like to hear about. But we'll keep these going as many as we can do over the next few weeks. So thank you very much, Joanna May. And
thank you so much.
we look forward to seeing you soon. All right,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.